key lime pie, ice cream sandwich, lemon meringue pie, jelly bean, it all just makes me hungry. But for Google, it's how they define a new software update on their Android devices. This is the T-Mobile Samsung Galaxy S3, which just got Android 4.1. I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com. Let's take a look at what's changed in a full hands-on. Android 4.1 is here on the Galaxy S3, at least if you have a Sprint or a T-Mobile version. It rolled out a couple of weeks ago to Sprint users. It's rolling out now to T-Mobile users. Unfortunately, AT&T and Verizon, you're still kind of on an unknown time frame for Android 4.1. Hopefully, we'll see that pretty soon. But it brings together, obviously, the aesthetic enhancements you would expect from Android 4.1. Most notably, things like the notification bar here. And you can see the clock is a little bit different. You've got your settings shortcut and still the same look and feel when it comes to your shortcuts up in the top. Those swipe over and you can easily access those. And you've got some new ones as well. You'll notice that they're kind of organized differently. And then you've got your brightness indicator here also, which we saw in some later versions of TouchWiz on Android 4.0. It didn't roll out with that when it launched in retail stores, but in subsequent kind of minor software updates that have rolled out on various carriers, you do see this. For example, the AT&T version, you'll see it right over here on this device. I'll bring it over so you can take a look right there and see what it looks like. So still running Android 4.0 here, but just to give you a comparison between the two, Android 4.0, Android 4.1 over on the T-Mobile version. So got the clock here, got the settings here, and you're going to see some settings that are familiar. If you've worked at all with the Galaxy Note 2 or you've watched my videos, you'll see some of the settings that are kind of similar. Home screen mode is one of my favorites because oftentimes I'll work with somebody that perhaps is new to smartphones, or perhaps somebody in my family will call and say, how in the world do I operate this smartphone? Well, now on home screen mode, I can switch it over to easy mode, and what it does when I hit apply, it brings over some really easy widgets that helps people get started. For example, this one, the settings, where I can easily access battery life, syncing capabilities, settings, wireless settings, gallery, sounds, and more, along with my favorite contacts. Then I can usually do a dial pad as well. Let's see if that one is there. We'll take a look. So you can see it shortens the number of available home screens. I only have 5 right now. Of course, I can add 7 if I want to, but I've got my favorite applications. I've got tap to set alarm, just to make this device a little bit easier to use for those that are new. Favorite apps, favorite settings, and of course I can edit and move those around or get rid of those as I see fit. So there's still some customization even in the easy mode, but for people that are new to smartphones, this could be a great tool to kind of get used to it, kind of get your feet wet in Android 4.1 and just in the fact of having a smartphone itself. So I'll switch this back to basic mode. Bam. And I'll go back into the settings yet again. Did not mean to do that. Let's go back into settings and take a look at some of the other things that come out of the box on Android 4.1. One of my personal favorites is blocking mode. We saw this on the Galaxy Note 2, and it's a great feature where, you know what, if it's 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock and you don't have a job like I do because I'm available 24/7, but if you've got a job where you're like, I'm just tired of getting these emails, you can turn blocking mode on and you can disable incoming calls, you can disable notifications, so neither one of those come through from, let's say, 12 a.m. to, you know what, 5 a.m., for example. That's my quiet time. And then you can make an exception here, much like you can on iOS, where, you know what, the girlfriend needs to be able to call, the mom needs to be able to call, the dad needs to be able to call, the husband needs to be able to call, whatever the case may be. You can set allowed contacts in there. So even though you have these blocking mode things enabled, they can come in and call or text message, and it won't be blocked by this actual application. But you can disable alarm and timer, LED indicator, and of course you can set this as always as well. If you're just having a day where you're like, I want no calls, no messages, want nothing from nobody, nothing from anybody, you can easily set that and rock and roll. But blocking mode's a great feature. Another one that I really like, and you still see some of the Galaxy S3 stuff here that we saw when this device was announced in May. You've got your motion sensor stuff here where I can direct call the contact on the screen, just pick it up and hold it to my ear. One of my favorites. Smart alert, catch missed calls and messages. So if I have a missed call, instead of waiting for the notification light, I can just pick the device up and it will automatically let me know by a vibration if I have a call or a message. So that stuff is still there, but blocking mode and then of course home screen mode are your two newest things on Android 4.1 along with the lock screen. You'll also see a 4.1 influence here when it comes to accounts. I've got my T-Mobile Mobile Life account in Google, but it doesn't organize those separately. It organizes them by type. So for example, if I had 5 Google accounts, it would just say Google once on the accounts part here. And I go into accounts and it would say Aaron Baker 1, Aaron Baker 2, and it would list them all out right here and then give me kind of a bulk privacy area where I can change that stuff around. So minor cosmetic things, but still differences in Android 4.1 from Android 4.0. Also, another minor one that I've noticed in my testing with this, you'll see, for example, the apps here are closer together in comparison to Android 4.0, where it's separate like that. I have no idea why this is still showing San Francisco, but it has not been updated. You got your apps that are closer together. So minor things like that. You'll find some cosmetic differences throughout the user interface here. Still running TouchWiz, but minor cosmetic differences throughout the device. Overall, very fast here. Let's run a quadrant standard score test before we sign off. Not a speed test, a quadrant standard score. My mind is clearly ready for Thanksgiving. Let's go to quadrant standard, and we'll run the full benchmark just to kind of see a difference, or see if there is a difference, rather, between Android 4.0 and Android 4.1. Now, Android 4.1 does bring in Google's Project Butter, which is rumored, actually not rumored, proven to make speeds much faster. That said, I don't really notice a huge speed difference here between this device and the ice cream sandwich device. I feel like we got a nice bump an ice cream sandwich, and we're kind of just riding that and kind of seeing evolutionary updates from Android 4.0 to Android 4.1 to Android 4.2. Still, very fast, no lag whatsoever. I've had this for a couple of days, the update for a couple of days. I've been working with it, and I've been relatively pleased. And I will say, after working with the Note 2 or the Galaxy S3 that has Android 4.1, it's often hard to go back to Android 4.0. You get used to kind of those tweaks and those settings that are only available on Android 4.1, like the notifications bar, and then you go back to Android 4.0, and you're like, wait a second, why aren't my notifications showing up in that way that they are in 4.1? Why am I not seeing more of that email? Where are my Google Now updates, etc.? Benchmark result comes in at 6,009. So 6,009 here. And speaking of Google Now, to access, press and hold the home button, and you'll see all of my tasks that are running. I can remove those, but then I've got this little Google Now button right here where I can pop in and say Google Now, and let's get this loaded. Discover Google Now before leaving for work, when leaving for vacation. Get Google Now. Of course I'm in. I'm always in. And let's get my cards that are showing up right now. So weather is there. New version available. Ooh, a new version. We'll have to go to the Play Store and take care of that. Google. Well, let's try it this way. Are you hungry? Oh, okay, apparently that's the name of a place. So that's what's showing up. The only thing I don't like is, so far I can't find a way. You can press and hold to access Google Now, but when you double tap, it takes you into S Voice. And you can either turn that off or leave it on, but you don't have the option to kind of substitute out Google Now for Samsung's proprietary version of sorts of Google Now. So if you like Google Now, you're not a fan of Samsung's solution, unfortunately you can turn it off, but you can't switch those out where you can press and tap twice and access it. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for continuing coverage of Android 4.1 and 4.2 as it rolls out to all of these different devices in the Android lineup. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron, Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. And as always, we'll see you next time.